Hello, beautiful people. How are you guys doing? Hope everybody's doing amazingly well. Welcome back to another lesson of English with Ashish. And guys, in this lesson, we are going to learn how to write sentences in the passive voice in simple past tense, which by the way is also known as past indefinite tense. And we'll also talk about how to change the active voice, a sentence in the active voice into the passive voice. The lesson is going to be amazing, informative. There's going to be a quiz at the end of the lesson to check your understanding. Try that quiz as well. I'm excited. I know you guys are too. Let's do it. Alright guys, let me show you the structures of both the active voice and the passive voice in simple past tense. And guys, before we look at the structure and understand how things happen, let's just quickly talk about what exactly is simple past tense. Guys, in simple past tense, we talk about actions, we talk about things that happened, that occurred in the past at some time, at a specific time. That's how we use simple past tense. That's when we use simple past tense, all right? Now, in the active voice, we focus on the doer of the action. If you want to talk about the person or people who did the action in the past at some time, you have to write the sentence in the active voice, which you do most of the times. And the structure is this. First comes the subject, the person who performed the action in the past, followed by the verb in the second form, V2, then the object. All right. Now, when you want to focus on the receiver of the action, when you do not want to talk about the person who did the action in the past, rather you want to talk about the receiver of the action, you want to talk about the person or the thing that received the action, that the action was acted upon, you gotta write the sentence in the passive voice. Guys, in the passive voice, we focus on the receiver of the action. We do not focus on the doer of the action. And most of the times, we don't even mention the doer of the action. And that's how the structure looks like in the simple past tense, all right? First comes the object, not the subject, not the doer of the action. This is the receiver of the action, followed by was or verb, followed by past participle. This is the third form of the verb, followed by and the subject, which is the doer of the action. And this is completely optional. Most of the times we do not talk about the doer of the action. We don't even mention it, all right, in the passive voice. Now, when do we use was and verb? Was is used with a singular subject like I, he, she, it. I was, he was, she was, it was. In all the singular noun names like Rahul, Max, mother, father, brother, cat, book, dog. Right? And were is used with you, they, we, you were, they were, we were, and all the plural noun names like parents, friends, teachers, singers, birds, cats, dogs, computers. Right? Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you some sentences in the active voice of past simple tense, and then we'll change those sentences in the passive voice. Sounds good? Right, let's do it. Okay, so on your screen are some sentences in the active voice. Yes, in these examples, in these sentences, we are focusing on the person who performed the action in the past. Look at the example. Number one, she called me last night. She did something in the past. She called me last night. She, the subject, called the verb. Whom? Me, the object, when last night. My father bought some cards yesterday. My father, subject, who did the action. My father bought what? Some cards, the object, yesterday. Last, she didn't kiss me, unfortunately. She did not. Didn't is a contraction of did not, right? She didn't kiss me, unfortunately. She did not, helping verb, kiss, main verb, kiss whom? Me, the object, all right? Now let us change these sentences into the passive voice. Let's change the first sentence into the passive voice. Now, how do we do it? We put the object in the beginning of the sentence, followed by was or were, then V3, followed by and the doer of the action. Let's do it. Now, what is the object here? Me, right? Me becomes I in the subjective case, in the subjective pronoun, right? So, I, what do we use with I? Was or were? Was. I was called last night. This is perfect. I was called last night. If you want to mention the doer of the action, then use by plus the person who did the action. I was called last night by, she becomes her as the objective pronoun. I was called last night by her, or I was called by her last night. Simple. Second one, my father bought some cars yesterday. My father bought what? Some cars. The object, and it will become the subject in the passive voice. Some cars, what do we use with some cars? Plural subject, was or were? Were. Some cars were bought by, bought. Some cars were bought by my father yesterday. Some cars were bought yesterday by my father, if you want to add the doer of the action. Simple. The last one, she did not kiss me unfortunately. This is a negative sentence. She did not kiss me unfortunately. All right, what is the object? Me. In the subjective case, it becomes I. I was not, because it's a negative sentence, we'll use not after the helping verb. Was. I was not kissed by her unfortunately, or I was not kissed unfortunately. I was expecting her to kiss me, but that didn't happen. I was not kissed by her unfortunately. Now, what if you have two objects in your sentence? What if the verb is ditransitive? That means it has two objects, the direct one and the indirect one. What will happen? How will you change such a sentence into the passive voice? Let's do it. She bought me a phone on my last birthday. She, subject the doer, bought the verb, all right? Me, an indirect object, a phone, the direct object, on my last birthday. So how will you change the sentence into the passive voice? Now, when you have such an example in the active voice, make the indirect object the subject in the passive voice, all right? So I'll say, I was bought a phone by her on my last birthday. I was bought a phone by her on my last birthday. I was bought a phone by her on my last birthday. Second one, John gave her everything. John, subject, the doer, gave the verb, her, indirect object, everything, direct object, right? So her becomes the subject in the passive voice, right? She was given everything by John. She was given everything by John. Now the question is, can we not make the direct object the subject in the passive voice? Can we not do it? No, you can do it, but it's better if you make the indirect object the subject in the passive voice. Let me show you how you can change this sentence into the passive voice using the direct object as the subject in the passive voice. Let's do it. She bought me a phone on my last birthday. A phone was bought for me on my last birthday. All right, second example. John gave her everything. John gave her everything. All right. She was given everything by John. She was given everything by John. Everything was given to her by John. Everything was given to her by John. That's how you will change the sentence into the passive voice when the direct object becomes the subject in the passive voice. All right. Now let me show you how you change an interrogative sentence in the active voice into the passive voice, right? This is the structure in the active voice. First comes the auxiliary verb did, followed by the subject, the doer of the action, followed by V1, followed by the object. This is how you write an active voice sentence in simple past tense, all right? In the passive voice, first comes the helping verb, that is was or were, right? Then comes the object, the receiver of the action, followed by V3, the past participle, followed by plus the doer of the action, if you want to mention that. All right, look at these examples. Active voice. Did you invite her to the party? Did you invite her to the party? That's a question. All right. When did he call you? When did he call you? Now let's change these sentences into the passive voice. Now what is the object here? Did you invite her? Invite whom? Her. Her is the object here, and it will become the subject in the passive voice, which is she. And with the she, we use was, right? So the passive voice will be, was she invited to the party by you? Was she invited to the party by you, or simply was she invited to the party, if you already know the doer of the action. Simple, right? Second example, when did he call you? Call whom? You. You is the object and it will become the subject in the passive voice. When were you called by him? When were you called by him, or when were you called if you already know the doer of the action. That's how you change an interrogative sentence in the active voice into the passive voice. Simple, right? Now I have a task for you. On your screen are some examples in the active voice. What you guys have to do is, you already know. You have to change these sentences into the passive voice. So that's all about today's lesson, guys. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I hope now you know how to change the active voice into the passive voice, when to write the sentence in the passive voice. I hope now you know everything. You're more comfortable. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions, any doubts, do let me know in the comment section below. And I will see you guys very soon. Till then, keep learning. Have fun. I'm out. Namaskar.